The alien slaughterhouse smelled like metal, blood, and old fire. Ryan stepped carefully through the broken hallway, his flashlight sweeping across twisted pipes and dark stains on the floor. The abandoned station floated in deep space, far from any law, any rescue, or any light of hope. Perfect for criminals to hide their worst secrets. He wasn't here to be a hero. He was a scavenger, just looking for parts to sell back on the Martian black market. Plasma coils, reactor cores, maybe even an old AI chip if he got lucky, but something didn't feel right tonight. The deeper he went, the colder it got. Not from temperature, but from something else. Something that made the air heavy, like sorrow. Then he heard it, a sound too soft for machines, too broken for confidence, yet too human to ignore. A whisper, like a breath, clinging to life. He followed it, down a narrow tunnel, half filled with rusted cages and chains. Most were empty. Others had bones, blood, or silent stains of those long gone. Then he found her. She lay against the wall of a cage, barely more than skin and bones. Her body was covered in strange cuts, some glowing faintly as if injected with alien chemicals. Her skin was bluish-purple, covered in filth and dried blood. Her eyes, too large for her face, opened slowly as the light hit her. Ryan stopped, frozen. He didn't expect to see someone alive. She blinked, then spoke in a voice so hoarse it sounded like gravel being crushed. "Use me," she whispered, her cracked lips barely moving. "Hurt me. Just don't leave me here." Ryan stared at her, stunned. The chains were still tight around her wrists and ankles. There was a metal collar fused into her neck. Burn marks around it showed it wasn't a decoration. "I'm not one of them," he finally said. "I'm not here to hurt you." She didn't respond right away. Her eyes flicked to his boots, his hands, his belt, as if trying to calculate what kind of pain he might bring. Then, softly, she said again, "Just take me out of here, please." Ryan knelt down, looking at the lock. It wasn't complex, just old, rusty, and made for fear. Not security. With a twist of his salvaging tool, the cage door opened with a loud creak. The girl flinched, thinking he was going to step in and hurt her, but Ryan only leaned forward, offering his hand. "Can you move?" She looked at his hand like it was fire, something she wanted, but didn't trust. "No," she whispered. "They broke my legs. Days ago, maybe weeks." He gently lifted her. She was light, too light, like her body had given up growing. Only bones and pain remained beneath her skin. As he carried her out of the cage, she trembled in his arms, not from fear, but from cold, hunger, and exhaustion. He laid her on the ground just outside the cage and pulled out his water pack. She hesitated before drinking, then drank with slow desperation. Like each drop was a blessing she couldn't believe was real. "What's your name?" he asked. She didn't answer at first, then said Valari. "I'm Ryan," he replied, "and I'm getting you out of here." "No," she said softly. "They don't let anyone leave, not if they've seen this." She looked toward the far end of the corridor. Ryan followed her gaze and saw a giant metal doors marked in alien script. One door was slightly open, and inside he could hear the buzzing of machines, the dripping of liquid. And something worse, something alive, something crying. Ryan's jaw tightened. What's behind that door? "They take the females there," Valari whispered too. "Process them." A chill ran down Ryan's spine. "Process." Valari didn't answer, but she didn't have to. He now understood what this place really was. Not a prison, not a lab, not even a slave facility. It was a factory of death, where living beings, women, were reduced to meat, material, and madness. And Valari was next in line. Ryan stood, checked his weapon, an old pulse pistol barely holding a charge. "You've leaving right now." "You can't," she said, her voice suddenly filled with urgency. "There are guards, machines, drones. They'll kill you for taking me. I've stolen worse things," he said with a cold smirk. "Come on." She tried to get up, but her legs collapsed beneath her. Ryan didn't wait. He picked her up again. Her head resting against his chest, her breath shallow but real. As they moved, the old lights flickered. Above, metal groaned in the walls and behind them. A siren began to whine, low and ugly, like a beast waking from sleep. Valari panicked. They know. Ryan gritted his teeth and ran. The path twisted through narrow tunnels. Wires hanging loose, warning signs in languages neither of them understood. Behind them, robotic footsteps echoed metal hunting metal. "We're not going to make it," Valari said, her voice shaking. "Put me down, save yourself." "Shut up," Ryan growled. "I don't leave anyone behind." He turned a corner, then stopped. A giant security drone blocked their way. Red eyes scanned the air. Weapons, worry. Online, Ryan ducked behind a broken console and whispered, "Can you walk?" "Even a little." Valari shook her head, tears forming in her eyes. "No." Ryan looked at the drone, at Valari, then at a small maintenance hatch above them just big enough for one person. He could escape, he could leave her, he could pretend. This never happened, but he didn't. Instead, he reached for his only grenade shock pulse and tossed it at the drone. It exploded in a flash of light. The drone convulsed, sparks flying. Then collapsed with a heavy thud. Ryan didn't wait to see if it would recover. He ran, and behind him. For the first time in months, Valari didn't scream. She held onto his shirt and whispered, "Thank you." Ryan didn't stop running until the red lights were far behind them. The slaughterhouse facility stretched endlessly, like a maze of forgotten pain. Every corridor looked the same cold metal. Blinking red lights, dried stains that whispered of things no one should see. Valari was still in his arms. Her breathing was slow, but steady. Her head rested weakly against his shoulder, but every time he turned sharply or jumped, she winced. Her body flinched like she expected pain to follow every movement. They ducked into a side chamber dark, silent and abandoned. It looked like an old storage room, half filled with broken equipment and discarded tools. Ryan laid her down gently on a soft patch of insulation. He knelt beside her, pulled out his canteen, and held it near her lips. "Drink slowly," he said. She obeyed. But her eyes stayed locked on his face, watching for signs of anger, of cruelty, of betrayal. When she finished, Ryan pulled a small scanner from his pouch and aimed it at her collar. The device beeped and showed a red warning light active signal. Live tracker and shock function, Ryan cursed under his breath. "This things still live." Valari nodded slowly. "They control us with it. The shocks burn inside. Sometimes they do it for no reason, just to hear us scream." Ryan looked closely. The collar wasn't just wrapped around her neck, it was partially melted into her skin. Wires ran into the base of her skull, and old burn marks surrounded it. Some still looked raw. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked. She looked away. "Because I thought maybe you wanted to use it." Ryan sighed. "I'm not like them. I've heard that before," she whispered. Right before they laughed and pressed the button, he felt anger rise inside him. Not at her, but at whoever did this too. Her, she wasn't just a victim. She was treated like livestock. He pulled out a tiny cutter from his salvage kit. "I'm going to try and disable it," he said. "It might sting, but I'll be careful." Valari hesitated, her body shaking. Then she gave a tiny nod and closed her eyes. She braced herself, expecting pain. Ryan worked carefully, slicing around the edge of the collar, searching. For its main power node, he found the fuse, a tiny glowing orb near the left edge, flickering softly. With one quick move, he jabbed a needle into it. The orb sparked, fizzed, then died. Valari cried out and tried to curl up, but Ryan caught her. "It's okay. It's off. You're free." She blinked rapidly, like she didn't believe him. "No more pain?" she asked. He shook his head. No more shocks, no more control. Valari touched the collar with her trembling fingers, then let out a broken laugh that turned into tears. It was the laugh of someone who forgot how to feel anything other than fear. Ryan sat back and let her cry. He didn't say a word. Just watched her slowly begin to breathe, like someone learning how to be alive again. Then the alarm blared again, this time louder. They were found. Ryan jumped to his feet, peeking outside. The storage room. A red drone floated silently down the hallway, scanning every door. A long needle extended from its side, dripping with tranquilizer. Valari froze, eyes wide in terror. "They'll take me again, kill you." "Not today," Ryan whispered. He grabbed a long metal rod from the storage pile, wrapped a cloth around one end, and set it ablaze with his heat torch. The fire crackled as he stepped into the hallway and faced the drone. The drone beeped in warning, aiming the needle toward him. But Ryan threw the flaming rod directly into its scanner lens. The drone flinched, its systems sparking. Trying to recover, but Ryan tackled it before it could. He smashed it into the wall, again and again until its lights died. Breathing hard, he returned to Valari. "Can you stand at all?" She tried, winced in pain, and managed to pull herself to her knees. "I can crawl," she whispered. "No," Ryan said firmly. "You're not crawling again." He lifted her once more, this time more carefully, her arms wrapping lightly around his neck. They moved fast left, right, ducking through tunnels and maintenance shafts. Valari whispered directions in his ear, telling him which way the guards usually came from. She knew this place better than anyone, because she had survived here longer than she should have. "I was caught while traveling with a trade ship," she explained, her voice soft against the dark. "We didn't know this sector was a trap. They took the women and executed the men." Ryan listened silently. "They said I was lucky." She continued, "They kept saying I had good, skin-strong organs. Perfect for processing." She shuddered. "They kept me alive longer. Because I fought back, it amused them." Ryan's hands clenched tighter under her legs. "They're going to pay," he said coldly. Valari didn't reply. She had heard those words before from other prisoners, but none of them lived to see. Revenge. As they turned a corner, the hallway opened into a wide chamber and old shuttle bay. Ryan's face lit up. "My exit point is just behind that door," he said. But it wasn't that simple. The blast door was sealed tight and the control panel was fried. Wires dangled from it like broken nerves, sparks flashing every few seconds. Valari frowned. "There's no way through. They shut it down months ago. I've bypassed worse," Ryan said, and dropped her gently to the floor. He dug into his salvage kit, pulling out jumper wires, a shock cell, and a processor override chip, working fast. He connected the wires to the dead panel and tried to power it from his backup battery. Valari watched him with wide eyes. "You're not just a scavenger," she whispered. Ryan smirked. "Never said I was a good one." He connected the final wire. The door let out a loud hiss, then began to open slowly, but behind them, more footsteps echoed, heavy ones, not drones. "Soldiers," Valari gasped. "They found us." Ryan drew his pulse pistol and aimed. He turned to Valari. "Go. Crawl through the gap, I'll cover you." She shook her head violently. "No, they'll kill you. Just go." He shouted, firing down the corridor as shadows appeared. Valari dragged herself through the half-open door, tears streaming down her face. She turned just in time to see Ryan leap back through after her as blaster shots flew over his shoulder. The door slammed shut. For a long moment, silence returned. They were safe, for now. Ryan sat back, breathless, bleeding from a graze on his shoulder. Valari pulled herself next to him, her hand touching his. "I thought you would leave me," she said. Ryan looked at her. I didn't come here to save anyone, he said. But I couldn't leave you there. Not after what I saw. She smiled weakly. Then maybe. I was finally lucky. They didn't speak after that, just sat together in silence. Two strangers with broken pasts, now tied together by a moment of choice, and neither of them knew that this was only the beginning. The door behind them groaned, sparks jumping from the control panel. Ryan stared at it for a moment, knowing it wouldn't hold forever. The alien guards on the other side would find another way through, they always did. Valari sat beside him, her back against the cold wall, trying to hide how badly she was shaking. Her legs were still useless. Her body too broken to run. She was free. But not safe yet. Ryan stood and scanned the dusty chamber they had entered. It was an old hangar control room, left to rust. Cracked windows overlooked the empty shuttle bay below. If they could get a ship working, they had a chance. Do you think they'll follow us? She asked, her voice weak. I don't think, Ryan said. I know they will. Valari looked down, her long fingers gripping the torn edge of her clothes. I'm slowing you down, she whispered. You should go. Just leave me. Stop. Ryan cut her off, firm but not cruel. I didn't carry you through that hell just to abandon you now. She looked at him, eyes wide with disbelief. Why? Why would you risk so much? For me? Ryan didn't answer right away. He walked to the edge of the room, pried open a small control hatch, and began checking the systems. Valari waited quietly, her breath slow, eyes watching every movement of his hands. Finally, he spoke. Because I saw what they did to you, he said. And because no one else did anything about it, he glanced back at her. And because I'm tired of looking away when something horrible happens. She didn't know what to say. No one had ever spoken to her like that, not since she was taken. Ryan worked quickly, bypassing the ancient security, the hangar systems were fried, but he found one beacon still online, an emergency tug shuttle parked under dust and debris. Small but fast, and just enough for two. I can get it working, he said. But we'll need to get down there first, Valari nodded. But her arms trembled as she tried to pull herself up. Her legs dragged uselessly beneath her, pain flashing across her face. Ryan didn't wait. He returned, knelt down, and gently lifted her again. You don't have to do this, she whispered, her voice shaky. I know, he replied, but I want to, together. They made their way out of the control room and into the shuttle bay. Ryan stayed close to the walls, scanning for motion. The quiet was worse than noise. It meant someone was watching. The shuttle was still there, half covered by tarp and metal crates. It was scratched and dirty, but the engine lights blinked faintly, a sign of life. Ryan placed Valari inside the co-pilot's seat and began tearing into the ship's controls. She watched silently as he worked, her heart pounding every time she heard a noise. She tensed, expecting the guards to appear again. I don't want to go back, she said suddenly. I'll die first. I'll bite my own tongue if they catch me again. Ryan stopped and looked at her. They won't catch you, he said. I promise. But what if they won't? He repeated, this time with fire in his voice. Because I'm not letting them take you again, for the first time since he found her. Valari saw something in his eyes she hadn't seen in a long time. Rage. Not at her, but for her. And it gave her strength. Ryan managed to get power too. The engines, the hum of energy buzzing beneath them. The ship shook slightly as systems came back online, lights flickering to life. Valari let out a small nest gasp. You did it? I told you, he smiled. I'm not just a thief, I know how to steal life back from dead machines. But before they could lift off, the alarm blared again. A loud mechanical voice echoed through the bay in alien language, followed by metal footsteps approaching the entrance ramp. Ryan looked at Valari. They're here, he said. Pulling his pistol from his hip, Valari tried to move, to help, but her body refused. I'm sorry. she whispered, tears filling her eyes. Ryan stood at the ramp's edge, hiding behind cover. He peeked out. Tan saw 3 alien guards moving fast, armored and heavily armed. Their eyes scanned the bay like hunters searching for prey. One of them pointed at the shuttle, shouting something in their language. The others raised their weapons. Ryan gritted his teeth and fired. The first shot hit one alien in the shoulder. He dropped instantly, his weapon clattering to the floor. The second guard ducked behind a crate, returning fire with glowing green bolts that scorched the walls. Ryan kept firing, ducking, moving, distracting them from Valerie. Inside the ship, she closed her eyes and whispered, "Don't die. Not for me." The ramp shook as the guards moved closer. One of them climbed up, weapon raised, but Ryan met him halfway, slamming the butt of his pistol into the alien's face. Then grabbing his dropped rifle, the third guard tried to flank him, but Valerie screamed, "Behind you?" Ryan spun and fired just in time. The last guard collapsed with a growl, his armor sparking as he hit the floor. Smoke filled the bay, and Ryan finally dropped into the pilot's seat. "You okay?" he asked. Valerie nodded weakly. "You saved me again. Let's hope I can save us one more time," he said, and yanked the controls. The ship groaned as it lifted off, slowly at first, then faster as the bay doors opened above them. They shot through the exit tunnel like a bullet, alarms screaming all around. Behind them, more ships began to move, enemy fighters launching to chase them down. "We've got company," Ryan muttered. He handed Valerie the backup navigation stick. "You good with maps?" he asked. She blinked, surprised. "Yes. Yes, I am. Then plot me a way out of this death trap." She smiled, actually smiled, despite everything. Her fingers moved quickly, her mind sharp even though her body was weak. Ryan weaved the shuttle through the blackness of space, dodging fire, twisting through debris. His jaw clenched tight. Valerie's calm voice guided him through secret paths and quiet routes she remembered from before her capture. Behind them, explosions lit up the darkness, but they didn't stop. They kept moving, and finally, silence. They had escaped the slaughterhouse. Ryan let out a long breath and leaned back in his seat. Valerie looked over at him, her eyes softer now, her voice quieter. "You didn't have to fight for me," she said, "but you did." Again and again. Ryan turned to her. "You didn't ask to be hurt or used or locked in a cage," he said. "You just wanted someone not to leave you behind." She nodded slowly. "Is this what freedom feels like?" she whispered. Ryan looked out at the stars. "I don't know," he said. "But maybe we'll find out together." Valerie reached over, her hand resting gently on his. No chains, no collar. No fear in her eyes, just quiet, tired, hope, and in that moment, in a small stolen shuttle, drifting through space, 2 broken souls began to heal. The stars outside were quiet, peaceful, almost too peaceful. But inside the stolen shuttle, both Ryan and Valerie knew this calm wouldn't last. They had escaped the slaughterhouse, yes, but the galaxy was still dangerous, and Valerie wasn't. Safe not yet. Ryan checked the ship's systems, frowning at the damage reports. "We took too many hits during the escape," he muttered. "Hyperdrive is fried. Shields are down to 40%. Can we make it to a safe planet?" Valerie asked, sitting beside him in the co-pilot seat, her thin fingers wrapped tightly around the edge. Ryan sighed. "Maybe. But we'll need to land somewhere to hide, refuel, and do repairs. I can't risk heading to a human colony, right?" "Now not with you on board," Valerie's voice dropped. "Because of what I look like." "No," Ryan said quickly, shaking his head. "Because of what people think when they see a half-starved alien girl with slave markings next to a human man in a stolen ship." Valerie lowered her eyes. "You're right," she whispered. "They'll think you own me." There was a long pause. Then Ryan said quietly, "If we land on a neutral station somewhere like Arcan Outpost, we'll need to pretend." Just for a while, Valari looked at him. "You want me to pretend I'm still your slave? I want you to survive," he said. "If they find out you escaped from that place, they'll sell you back to a Torwers. Hand you over to the ones who ran it." She was silent again. Her face showed pain, not physical, but emotional. She had just started to feel free, and now she had to return to the role that nearly broke her soul. But then she nodded. Slowly, "I trust you," she said quietly. "I don't want to, but I do." That hit Ryan harder than any insult. He nodded back, eyes firm. "We'll keep it simple. No collars, no chains. I'll just act like I'm your handler. You don't have to talk to anyone. Just stay close." Valari swallowed hard. "I'll do it. Just promise me something. Anything," Ryan said. "When this is over, when we're Sci-Fi, never have to pretend." Again, Ryan placed his hand gently over hers. "You'll never have to pretend again." Arcan Outpost hung in orbit above a dead moon. It wasn't much, just a rusted ring of trade docks, scrapyards, and black market dealers. Perfect place to disappear if you knew how. As they landed, Ryan helped Valari adjust a dark cloak over her body. It hid her markings, the scars, and even her face. She looked like a quiet assistant, a lower-ranking pet. Valari hated it, but she kept her head down. Eyes on Ryan's boots as they walked through the docking bay. The station was crowded full of strange aliens. Traders, mercenaries, and creatures with more weapons than manners. No one paid attention to her, not directly. But she could feel the eyes. Feel the stares crawling on her skin like insects. Ryan acted calm, like he belonged here. He spoke to a mechanic named Breck, an old four-armed alien who owed him favors. Breck examined the shuttle and whistled. "You brought me a mess this time, human. Can you fix it?" Ryan asked. "Not for free." Breck grinned with sharp yellow teeth. "You want me to keep my mouth shut about what you dragged in? That costs extra." Ryan tossed him a credit chip, and another if the ship's ready in a day. Breck's eyes lit up. "Done." As they left the docking area, Valari whispered, "He knows I escaped." "He won't talk," Ryan said. "Not as long as he gets paid." They found a small room in the station's lower deck, bare walls. One bed, one light, and no cameras. It was dirty, but safe. Ryan laid out food on a small tray and handed it to Valari. She ate slowly. Every bite a reminder of how long she had gone without choice or comfort. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded. This is the first time I've eaten and not expected pain afterward." Ryan sat across from her. "You'll never be punished for eating again, I promise." Valari stared at him. "You keep saying that." "You keep promising, I mean every word," he said. She studied his face. "No one's ever meant it before." The next day, Ryan returned to Breck to check on the ship. Valari stayed hidden in the room, alone for the first time since her rescue. Every sound in the hallway made her flinch. Every knock made her hold her breath. She remembered cages, screams, the buzzing of pain collars. Then suddenly the door beeped. She stood up quickly, fear rising, but it was Ryan. He walked in, carrying a bag of supplies, and stopped when he saw her standing. "Trying to walk with the help of a wall? You're up," he smiled. "That's progress." She fell into his arms. Weak from trying, he caught her gently, holding her steady. "I tried. But my legs," she whispered, "they'll heal." He said softly, bit by bit. He sat her down and handed her some medical salve. "For the scars," he said. "It won't remove them, but it'll help the skin recover." Valari held the bottle in her hands. Do you think I'll ever look normal again?" she asked. Ryan tilted his head. "What do you mean by normal?" She hesitated. "Not broken, not ugly, not like a thing that was used up." Ryan stood quietly. For a second, then walked over. He gently touched the edge of her face and said, "Valari, you were never ugly. You were hurt, but you were never less than a person." "Not to me." She blinked hard, her voice cracking. "Why are you like this? Why do you care so much?" "I don't know," he said honestly. "Maybe because I've seen too much pain and did nothing. Maybe I want to change that." "Starting with you," Valari looked down, her voice barely a whisper. "No one ever talked to me like that before." Ryan smiled. "Get used to it." That night, as the station lights dimmed into false night, Valari lay awake while Ryan dozed. In a chair nearby, she listened to the soft humming of power lines above them. She watched Ryan's chest rise and fall, his face calm for once. She whispered to herself, "I'm not afraid anymore." She didn't know if he heard her or not, but in her heart, she meant it, even if just for tonight, even if just because one human refused to leave her behind. The room was dark, but not silent. The hum of the space station echoed faintly through the walls. Every few minutes, footsteps passed by the hallway outside. Most were harmless. Some were not. Valari sat awake in the bed, her knees pulled to her chest, arms wrapped tightly around herself. Ryan was asleep in the chair across from her, his head tilted back, one hand resting near his pistol. She had tried to sleep, but every time her eyes closed, the past returned, chains, screaming, the shock of electricity in her spine, the sound of metal doors slamming shut behind her. She would jerk awake each time, gasping, clutching the sheets soaked in cold sweat. The worst part wasn't the pain, it was the silence afterward, that heavy, suffocating silence after the screaming stopped and no one came. No help, no rescue, no voice saying it's okay now. Only the emptiness of being forgotten. But now, someone was here. She looked at Ryan, studying his face in the dim light. He looked peaceful and sleep-strong, but not cruel, not like the others. She whispered, "Ryan?" He stirred slightly, but didn't wake. She hesitated, then softly asked, "Again, Ryan." His eyes opened slowly, blinking once before focusing on her. "You okay?" he asked, his voice groggy but gentle. I can't sleep," she said quietly. "Every time I close my eyes, I'm back there." He sat up straighter, rubbing his eyes. "You're safe now," he said. "No one will hurt you here." "I know," she said, "but my mind doesn't believe it." Ryan nodded, understanding too well. "Want me to stay closer?" Valari hesitated, then gave the smallest nod. "Would you? Would you sit beside the bed?" He stood without a word, pulled the chair next to the bed, and sat down again. He didn't touch her, didn't move closer than necessary, but his presence filled the cold air around her with something warmer. Valari laid down slowly, her back to the wall. Facing him, she could still hear her heart pounding in her ears, but the rhythm was calming now. She focused on his breathing, steady, strong, real, and slowly. For the first time in months, she slept. The next morning, Ryan was already up, cleaning his weapon and checking the ship's repair status from his wrist console. Valari woke to the smell of warm ration packs heating on a small portable stove. She blinked and sat up, her hair tangled, eyes wide. For a second, she panicked. Forgetting where she wasn't, she saw Ryan by the door. "Good morning," he said casually. "I didn't wake you, did I?" She shook her head slowly. "No. I actually slept," he smiled. "Good, you needed it. I haven't slept through a whole night in I don't even know how long," she whispered. Ryan handed her a bowl of warm food and sat down beside her. They ate in silence for a while, the kind that felt calm, not awkward. After a few bites, Valari looked at him and asked, "What happens next?" Ryan leaned back and thought for a moment. "The ship's almost ready. Breck finished the hyperdrive repairs last night. We can leave Arkan Outpost today if you want." Valari looked down. "And go where?" Ryan shrugged. Anywhere but here. I know a few quiet systems places where no one asks questions. No slavers, no syndicates, just people trying to live. She nodded slowly. I'd like that. Then she added, but we can't leave yet, can we? Ryan raised an eyebrow. Why not? Because that place the slaughterhouse said's still out there, she said firmly, her voice growing stronger, and others like me. There. Still inside it, Ryan stared at her, silent for a moment. You want to go back? He asked, surprised. Valari's hands shook slightly, but her voice didn't. No, not to stay. But I want to help free the others. I can't forget them. I hear their screams when I close my eyes. If we don't do something, who will? Ryan leaned forward, his voice steady. Valari, you're not ready for that. Your body's still healing, and even if you were, this mission would be suicide? Maybe, she replied. But I don't want to be just another rescued victim. I want to matter. I want my pain to mean something. Ryan looked at her differently, now not as someone broken, but as someone rising from the ashes. You're stronger than you look, he said. She smiled slightly. You've said that. Before, he thought for a while, then nodded. All right, we won't go back right now. But I can reach out to someone I trust, someone who helps trafficked victims quietly from the shadows. He might know how to get others out. Valari looked relieved. Thank you. He leaned back, and if that doesn't work, we plan something bigger, but smart. No suicide missions. Deal. She gave a small nod. Deal. That afternoon. Ryan took Valari on a short walk through the lower deck halls, just to help her legs start working again. She leaned on him for support, her steps slow and painful, but determined. Every corner of the station was filled with strange life creatures selling parts, androids patrolling, smugglers arguing. Valari kept her cloak wrapped tight, still afraid. Someone might recognize her or her scars, but Ryan stayed close, and no one bothered them. At one point, they passed a mother alien holding her child's hand. Valari stopped and watched for a long time. Eyes wide, the child was laughing, spinning. Free, I used to dream about that, she whispered, before they took me. Ryan gently took her hand and squeezed it. You still can. He said, dream again, live again, when they returned to the room. A message was blinking on Ryan's wrist console. It was from someone named Juno, a contact he hadn't spoken to in years. Ryan read the message silently, his face slowly growing serious. Valari saw the change and asked, what is it? He looked at her. There's going to be a raid, a rescue op, on the slaughterhouse. She asked quickly. No, he said. Another one different sector, but same network, same owners. Valari's eyes narrowed. They're all connected. Looks like it, he said. This wasn't just one station, it's part of a system. They've been doing this across multiple planets and trade routes. Selling females from dozens of species like cattle. She closed her eyes. I knew it was big, but not that big. Ryan gently touched her shoulder. Juno wants to meet us. He thinks your memory, your details could help shut them down. Valari looked at him. Then let's go. You sure? She nodded, voice calm but full of steel. I'm done running. It's time to fight. Ryan looked at her for a long moment, then nodded back. All right then, he said softly. Let's burn their empire to the ground. The room was quiet, but the air had changed. Valari sat near the small table, her hands resting in her lap, her fingers no longer trembling like before. Ryan paced slowly, reading the message from Juno again. Then glancing at her every few seconds. You're really sure about this? He asked. Meeting Juno means stepping into the shadows again. There's no guarantee he can protect us. I'm not asking for protection, Valari replied. I'm offering something back. I remember their faces, their routines, how they speak to prisoners. I remember where they hide keys, where they store the collars. Every horrible detail. Ryan watched her in silence. A few days ago, she could barely sit up, afraid of her own shadow. Now she wanted to stand up and burn down the syndicate that broke her. "We'll leave in an hour," he said at last. "I've already transferred credits to Breck. The ship's ready." Valari nodded, pulling her cloak tighter around her shoulders. But then she noticed something strange in Ryan's expression. He looked, tense eyes alert like a soldier expecting an ambush. "What is it?" she asked. Ryan stepped over to the console and showed her a blinking red icon. "Someone posted a bounty," he said grimly. "On both of us." Valari leaned forward too. "Read it. Wanted human male smuggler traveling with escaped biological property. High reward, dead or alive." Her breath caught. "They labeled me as property again." Ryan nodded. "They didn't even use your name, just escaped unit. They want you back quietly. And you?" "I'm the thief who stole their asset," he said coldly. "They're trying to silence both of us." Valari felt rage rise inside her chest, hot and steady. She had no power in that place. No voice, but now she did. "They'll regret this," she said through gritted teeth. They left Arkan Outpost in the dark of space. Avoiding main travel lanes, Ryan flew low through gravity drifts and asteroid belts to avoid bounty hunters. Valari sat in the co-pilot's seat again, her eyes watching every movement, learning the ship's layout, understanding the controls. "Why do you keep looking at the systems?" he asked with a small smile. "In case I need to fly one someday," she said seriously. "I don't want to be helpless again." Ryan nodded. "Good, I'll teach you." They traveled to a hidden moon in a burned-out solar system. There wasn't much life left there, just old mining wreckage and a buried station, camouflaged in the rock. That's where Juno waited. He wasn't what Valari expected. Juno was human, tall, lean, with half his face replaced by cybernetic implants. His eyes glowed blue, and his voice was calm but powerful. Ryan and Juno greeted as they stepped off the shuttle. "You look worse every time we meet, and you look more like a toaster," Ryan replied with a grin, still hiding in holes. "Still saving lives," Juno answered, then turned to Valari. "You must be the one everyone's chasing." Valari stiffened, her hand touching the edge of her cloak. "Don't be afraid," Juno said gently. "I'm not here to sell you. I'm here to listen." Ryan nodded. "She remembers everything. She escaped from the station on Vega 9. Juno's smile vanished. "That place again," he muttered. "They're spreading like disease. We shut one down last cycle lost for good people. Only saved 3 prisoners. 2 of them didn't even survive a week." Valari's voice was soft, but clear. "I'll help you shut the next one down." Juno raised an eyebrow. "You sure about that?" "Yes," she said, "but I want more than just escape. For others, I want to destroy the whole system." Juno leaned against the wall and folded his arms. "We've been tracking the network for years. They don't just run one place. They use shell companies, fake IDs, and offer-cord trades. The guards are mercenaries, no real names, no loyalties, and the girls disappear into dark markets before anyone notices." Valari's hands clenched. "They're not girls. To them, they're cargo. But to us," Ryan said firmly, "they're people. And we've got one right here, ready to fight back." Juno watched Valari closely for a long moment. "Then I have a job for you," he finally said. "But it's dangerous." "Tell me," Valari said without hesitation. They returned to the shuttle that night with a new mission. Juno had given them coordinates of a trading station connected to the syndicate. It looked like a mining hub, but in reality, it was where captured aliens were sorted, cataloged, and shipped to buyers. Valari remembered its name, Drexen Crosspoint. She had passed through it once barely conscious. But the memory of the cold scanner room and loud alien voices was still sharp in her mind. "They use it to scan the value of each female," she explained to Ryan as they flew: "age, organs, skin condition, and Reproductive status. Ryan's fists tightened on the controls. "You remember too much," he said softly. "I want to," she replied. "I need to." As they neared Drexen Crosspoint, Ryan gave her a communicator and a hidden energy blade small. "Enough to fit inside her sleeve. You stay in the shadows. If something goes wrong, you use this and run. Understand?" Valari nodded. "And if they catch you?" "They won't," he said. "I'm not the easy kind." They docked quietly. Disguised as cargo traders, Valari wore a fake scan collar that Juno had programmed one that would show harmless slave data. Just enough to blend in, Ryan posed. As a minor buyer, bringing her in for trade clearance. They walked through the security checkpoints with dozens of other traders and buyers. The station smelled of chemicals, smoke, and oil. Valari kept her head down, her body shaking slightly, but she didn't stop walking. When they reached the processing floor, she recognized it. Rows of scanners, chains. Lockers with numbers. She had been scanned in room C9, the place where they decided whether she'd be sold. Tested or killed, Ryan moved close and whispered, "Do you see it?" She nodded. "There's a control panel in the far left HFY. I can get inside it. I can copy the database. It'll have locations of every other station. Then let's move." As Ryan distracted the guards by pretending to ask about selling. Rates Valari slipped away behind a stack of crates. She moved slowly, carefully, every step echoing in her ears, but no one stopped her. She reached the panel, opened it with the blade, and plugged in Juno's drive. The screen lit up, rows. And rows of prisoner IDs, movement records, buyer locations, shipping orders. It was worse than she imagined, thousands of entries from hundreds of species across 3 systems. She downloaded everything in silence, her hands shaking not from fear but fury. She wasn't just escaping anymore. She was fighting back. Suddenly alarm beeped. A guard spotted Ryan asking too many questions and recognized his face from the bounty system. "Hey, you?" The guard shouted, "Stop right there." Ryan pulled his pistol. "Run." He yelled to Valari. She yanked the drive out and dashed toward the shuttle bay. Sirens wailed. Lights flashed red. Traders screamed and ran. Ryan fired at the guards as he retreated toward her, shouting, "Go." "I'll cover you," Valari turned, heart pounding. "No? Ha! I'm not leaving you, Valar, now." She ran, her feet barely touching the ground. Guards chased them down the tunnel. But Ryan threw smoke bombs behind him, buying them seconds. They reached the shuttle ramp together, leaped in, and sealed the door just as blaster fire hit the outside hull. Ryan threw the ship into the sky, dodging patrols and firing back. "Did you get the data?" he asked between jolts. Valari held up the drive. "Every file," she said breathlessly. "We have them all." Ryan let out a relieved laugh. "Then let's make sure everyone sees it." The stars outside the shuttle were quiet, but inside the cockpit, everything was alive. The stolen data drive glowed in Valara's hands, filled with records, thousands of names, prisoner numbers, locations, buyer logs. And worse, Ryan sat beside her, scanning the nav charts as alarms faded behind them. "We did it," Valari whispered. Still breathless, "We have everything." Ryan nodded. Now comes the real fight. They had escaped Drexen Crosspoint. Barely, the bounty on their heads. Would double now, the syndicate would know who stole their secrets. And they would come hunting. But Ryan didn't care, and neither did Valari. Because now they had truth, and they had each other. Juno's hidden base welcomed them back with dim lights and heavy doors. He met them in the hangar bay with a small team of rebels and survivors, people who had lost sisters, daughters, friends to the same dark trade. Valari handed the drive to Juno, her fingers shaking. "It's all there," she said. "Every station, every buyer, every ship, every name." Juno stared at the glowing device like it was a sacred flame. "This "This will burn their entire network down," he said. "We can go public. Leak the files to every channel across the systems, everyone will see, and they'll finally believe." Valari said, her voice hard. "Believe what's really happening." Juno looked at her. "You're not the same girl Ryan rescued." "No," she replied, standing taller now, her voice steady. "I'm not." That night, as Ryan sat on the roof of the outpost, watching the stars, Valari joined him. She walked without help now. Slow but strong, the wounds on her legs were healing, her back was straight, and the shadows in her eyes had changed. She sat beside him in silence for a long time before finally speaking. "I used to stare at the stars through a tiny hole in my cage. I thought the universe was cold, endless, hopeless." Ryan looked over. "And now?" Valari smiled faintly. "Now I know the stars hold people like you." He chuckled softly. "I'm no hero. You are to me," she said. He looked down, thinking about the first time. He saw her weak, chained, whispering words of surrender. Now she sat beside him, free, alive, and fighting. "I didn't save you," he said. "You saved yourself. I just refused to walk away." She touched his hand gently, and that was enough. The next morning, Juno's team began the leak. Every news stream, every pirate radio, every underground message board across the galaxy received the same thing. The slave network files evidence of illegal trade and torture. The files spread like fire. Screens displayed photos of cages, scanned logs of innocent captives, transaction records, death lists, names that no one could ignore anymore. Some wept, others raged, and across different planets, protests began. Buyers tried to vanish. Stations went dark, and slave routes were shut down one by one. The syndicate fought back. They sent ships, mercenaries, bounty hunters, anyone to silence Ryan and Valari. But it was too late. Truth had already been unleashed. One night, Ryan came back from the hangar to find Valari missing. He searched the base, worry building in his chest. Then he found her outside, standing in the moonlight, her hair loose, eyes glowing under the pale sky. "You okay?" he asked. She turned slowly. "I was thinking about how far we've come." He walked to her. "You've come farther than most." Valari looked at him carefully. "I want to leave this place," she said. Ryan blinked. "Where to?" "Hey, where?" She replied, "Somewhere quiet. Where no one sees me as a victim. Where I can live." He smiled. "You deserve that." Then she looked up at him again and said something she had never said before. "I want you to come with me, Ryan's." Hart paused for a second. "You sure?" he asked, voice softer now. "You don't owe me anything, Valari." She shook her head. "I don't owe you. I want you. You stayed when no one else did. I don't want to start a new life without you." Ryan smiled and stepped closer. Then, "I guess I'm coming with you." She reached up and held his face gently. "I was afraid of everyone. Even you," she said. "But now, when I close my eyes, the only face I see is yours." They stood like that for a while, not needing more words. 1 month later, on a quiet green moon far from syndicates and war, a small home was built near Soy. A small home was built near a lake. It had no bars, no scanners, no collars, only laughter, tools, books, and peace. Ryan fixed machines, built gardens, taught locals how to protect themselves. Valari wrote stories, drew faces she remembered, and helped Juno's network from afar sometimes. Ships arrived carrying survivors of other raids. Valari would sit with them, listen, comfort, and tell them the same words Ryan once told her. "You're not broken, you're still a person, and you are not alone." Years passed, and one night, a little girl ran through that home, her skin glowing faintly like Valari's. Her smile full of life. She climbed into Ryan's arms, giggling. "Daddy, tell me again how you found Mommy." Ryan smiled and pulled her close. Well, she wasn't Looking for a hero, he said. She just wanted someone not to walk away. From the doorway, Valari watched them. Her eyes full of warmth. She was no longer the girl in the cage, no longer whispering for mercy, no longer afraid of being left behind. She had become something stronger. She had become free, and the human who found her. He had found something too, not just a mission, not just a cause but a home.